Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Good Cube Sunday. This week we are going for redemption. Last week I completely failed at attempting to make good vegan mango gelato. This week, on the other hand, we are going to try again. Figured out that I really just need to intensify the mango flavor by boiling it down. How was I going to do that? I decided that the answer was mango nectar and dried mangoes. The reason that we're going to go with the dried mangoes is because demi-glace takes a long time. It is a process of boiling or simmering very slowly over time until you get a very thick, concentrated reduction. And so fresh mangoes were not going to be able to stand up to the process of being boiled for a long period of time. If I had used fresh mango, I would have probably ended up with something more on the lines of burnt than reduced and thick. So I decided if I go with something that already has a bit of a toughness to it, a bit of a structure, then it would be able to hold up to the long process. Now, because I could not find a recipe for this idea, I am really just going to be experimenting today. So I'm going to pull apart. This is 6 ounces of mango, dehydrated, and I'm going to incorporate it with the rest of this bottle of mango nectar. Now, the only thing about going about it this way is that I'm straying off of the path of keto-esque. All of the additional fruit that I'm going to be adding into this recipe is going to make the carbs and the sugar way too high to be considered healthy. Looking into the pot, I feel like that is an inadequate amount, so I'm going to add over another 6 ounces of the dehydrated mango. All right, so I'm going to pour over all of this. Now, this mango nectar is part mango nectar and part white grape. And I think that the white grape flavor is going to do a good job of sweetening and adding to the mango flavor without taking away. You may have noticed that I have some freeze-dried mangoes, but this is actually not for the demi-glace. I'm going to use this in the coconut milk to spice up and give more strength to the mango flavor, the same way that I did in the first episode with the freeze-dried apples. Now that we've gotten all of that into our pot, we're going to take it over to our heat. We're going to turn on our heat to a medium just to get the simmer going. Then we're going to reduce it to a low heat. I actually intended on allowing this to simmer for 3 to 5 hours, but time did not decide to be on my side, so I had to increase the heat to about a medium after about 45 minutes of simmering on low. Then for the last 20 or so minutes, I increased the heat to high. In total, it cooked for about 90 minutes. Now, here's an important thing. If possible, cook this in a glass or enamel pot. You do not necessarily want to cook this in a metal pot so that the flavor of the metal doesn't leach into your demi-glace. you ever had food create a religious experience? I tasted this demi-glace and I knew for sure that God was real, heaven was real, and all the fruits in Revelation would taste like this. This demi-glace is amazing. This is the consistency that it took on after being allowed to cool. It's not too thick and it's not too thin. I'd be willing to spread it on just about anything. All right, so I allowed our mango demi-glace to cool for 24 hours. I actually left it out. If I had my choice, I probably would allow it to ferment. I think that would have added a really interesting flavor. So the next layer of flavor that we're going to incorporate to overcome our coconut is dried mango. If you remember in the first episode, we used freeze-dried apple to impart flavor into our ice cream base. So this time we're going to use freeze-dried mango. So I'm just going to use one of these personal blenders. They're really great for smoothies and spice blending. So now that I have our mango all blended up, we're going to head over to the stove and begin to make our coconut base. To our cold pan, we're going to add over 2 cans of coconut milk, full fat coconut milk. Then we're going to add over 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Then we're going to add over about 3 teaspoons of monk fruit powder. Monk fruit is going to be our sweetener. And then some vanilla extract. I just give it a splash. Whisk this until thoroughly combined. Then add over our freeze-dried mango, whisking again until thoroughly combined. We've turned on our heat to medium, and we're going to stir this consistently for about 10 minutes. We are not going to walk away like we did last time. We're going to keep our eye on our custard. Making sure as always to scrape around the sides. One way you'll be able to tell that your batter is getting done is that as you spread your spatula through the pan, a wake will be created. The consistency has thickened to the point that you're able to see the bottom of the pan as you move the liquid aside. Another test of doneness is to see if it coats the back of your spatula. While that is cooling, we are going to start our mango puree and our mango base. So using the same personal mixer that we made our ground mango, we're going to add over our ripe mangoes. Now that we've gotten all of our mangoes, going to break it up just a little bit. Going to put the top on, and then remember that we need to add some monk fruit sweetener over to it. So we're going to add over about 3 teaspoons of our monk fruit sweetener. just to give a little bit of sweetness to our overall final product. Now we're going to put the top on and begin to blend it until it is smooth. Another thing that I learned from our last experiment was that mango is actually quite fibrous. And because it's so fibrous, what happens is those fibers, when blended, tend to get stuck. I see that that's not going to work the way I wanted it to, so we're going to swap out for this. And we're going to run this through the mesh. To catch any fibers. Boom. All right, now that our mango puree is complete, the next step is to blend our demi-glace. Oh no, we lost a lot of demi-glace there. But I don't like to be wasteful. So, boom. Part of the reason that I chose cutting board for my countertop. Okay, with a spoon, just going to check the consistency. That is magical. This is basically mango butter. Oh man, this is going to make great ice cream base. Rated for, at this point, it's been about 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 7 hours. Okay, so now we're going to mix our ice cream batter into our mango puree. And I'm just going to rearrange this here. Boom. Okay, ice cream batter going over into our mango puree. Boom. All right, so I probably got about a cup and a half of puree by pureeing those 3 small mangoes. It's less than I had the first time, but with the added mango demi-glace, we should have more than enough mango flavor. Okay. So now we're going to add over our demi-glace. Stirring this around. Boom. So now I'm going to give it a taste. Wow. This is really exactly what I was looking for. I am going to make one small addition. So there are two main ways that flavor transmits to the palate. One is fat and the other is salt. Because our fat is going to be frozen, it's not really going to come across on our palate the way that we want it to. So I'm just going to add about a pinch of salt to our batter and give it a good stir so that the secondary way in which flavor comes across on our palate, salt, will help to bring those flavors out as the fats are frozen. So I'm going to taste it one more time. Yep, just that little bit of salt made the flavor brighter and brought it out much more. So I'm going to follow my gut because my mother always says you want your flavors to be stronger in your before than you expect them to be in your after. So if you want something really sweet, you want it to be sweeter than you need it to be in your batter. If you want something to be savory, or you want it to be more than you think it needs to be when it cooks, because sometimes you'll lose flavors. Don't do that with saltiness, though. Salt will only increase as the rest of the mass decreases from cooking. So every other flavor, yes. Salt, no. Now that we have all of our flavors combined, they're ready to add over to our ice cream maker. Hey, can I be honest with y'all? I'm extremely proud of this ice cream. I'm kind of ashamed too. Last night, while I was out getting mangoes to make this with, I had so little faith that I would be able to accomplish this task and have an ice cream that I would be willing to eat for the week. I went out and bought myself some other ice cream just in case this failed. This may be some of the best ice cream I have ever made, and some of the best ice cream I have ever tasted. I am extremely proud of the final product. So let's take a look. First, I'm going to put this back. This is actually pretty heavy. I was not expecting it to be heavy because it's never been heavy before. But the ice cream is so dense and rich. I'm not about to waste any of it. One thing that I noticed in all gelato making videos is that they tend to put gelato in a shallow container to freeze it. I don't know if that has any implications on how it freezes, but I think it might. So I'm going to use these to house my gelato. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, ice cream lovers of all ages, this right here is what that is. It's refreshing, it's creamy, it's smooth. The depth of flavor is just layer after layer after layer. This may be sunshine personified. It's like all of summer, just in every spoonful. If there's nothing else from this channel that you try to make, you should make this. This right here is amazing. That's all the time that we have for this week. I am Yassine Butler, and this has been another episode of Good Cube Sunday. Follow Good Cube on all social media platforms. That's GOODCUB3D on all social media platforms. And as always, and especially today, thank the good Lord for good food and good times. All that good is good cubed. Have a good one.